بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا هذه هي المحاضرة ستكون أو اللقاء وليس محاضرة، ستكون حول موضوع يتعلق بالدليل العملي في الترجمة القانونية في هذا الكتاب الذي أمامكم، وكيفية التعامل معه من أجل الترجمة القانونية. المحاضرة ستكون باللغة الإنجليزية. أتمنى أن أسمع منكم مداخلاتكم في أي لحظة. إذا أردت وضع أي سؤال رجاء ضع الرقم 1 مباشرة لكي أترك لك مجال السؤال. إذا كان هناك أي مشكلة في الصوت ضع الرقم 2، وسنحاول أن نرى إذا كان بإمكاننا حل هذه المشكلة أم لا. غالبا لا يمكن حل مشكلات الصوت، لكن بإمكاننا توفير المحاضرة كاملة مسجلة بإذن الله تعالى بعد انتهاء هذه الجلسة المطلوبة منا الآن. هذا هو الكتاب كما تعرفون إذا كنتم نزلتموه، فهو هذا هو اسمه دليل التدريب العملي في الترجمة القانونية. هو يهدف لجميع المستويات المتوسطة والعليا وغيرها. أي أسئلة تريدون أن تسألوها رجاء أن تكون باللغة الإنجليزية. إجابة على أي سؤال رجاء أن يكون في اللغة الإنجليزية، حتى لو هناك أخطاء في الكلام لا مشكلة، المهم أن نفهم. نبدأ الآن على بركة الله سبحانه وتعالى. So I will start now, and I hope that if you have any question, if you would like me to clarify something for you, just to please ask me in the chat that you have. There is a kind of chat function or something like this, where you can put your questions or maybe ask for clarifications. If you have any problem with the sound system, which is unlikely to be solved, please enter the number 2. And if you have serious problem in the sound system, as I said, we will provide you with the recording of this meeting, with this session afterwards. This meeting is about the practical guidelines, the practical handbook in legal translation, and we made it as practical as possible with lots of examples and exercises so that they can benefit all of the students of translation and all of the translators who want to study legal translation. And I said this is part 1. Part 1 means that we will have another part shortly maybe. Part 2 is going to be about contract law. This one is very general. It rarely talks about contracts, but it talks about everything related to legal translation. The purpose of this session is to tell you how to use this book, how to make use of the exercises. I would like you to give me all your attention because it requires really lots of attention. I will start with the first one. We have the first chapter, which I call chapter 0. It's even before legal translation. Now the issue that we have is that many students of translation have problems in English. English grammar, English rhetoric, English itself, English writing sometimes. They have problems with the verbs, problems with the word order, problems even with writing the word itself, noun, adjective, etc. For that reason, I have put here chapter 0, and this chapter, preliminary chapter 0, is for every reader who reads this book to know that first of all, you have to be good in English before you become a legal translator. Every chapter has a summary of what you can expect from this chapter. Now here in this chapter, you will have prerequisites of legal translation. Prerequisites of legal translations are listed here. In order for a person to be a legal translator, he has to master the grammar of Arabic and English, and he has to master. I underscore the word master. It's not even to have a nodding acquaintance with something. It's to master, to know almost everything and to use it correctly. The indefinite article and the definite article, you know that stories tell us about the loss of the 1967 territories in Palestine because of the, which was mistranslated in the French version. We have the genitive, we have the verb, we have the subject, we have this verb form and tense, and we have the adjective, modifier and modified. We have relative clauses, and we have the usage of words. We have parallel structures, and we have lots of things, including unnecessary repetition. Every one of them is considered to be a grammar error. And for that reason, we need to make sure that we don't make these mistakes when we translate legal documents. If you make any mistake in legal documents, even in grammar, there will be a disaster. A contract in Canada had a problem of a comma, and one of the parties lost almost 1 million Canadian dollars because just of a comma. Now, you will need about 20 hours of learning these lessons. You do not find these lessons in this book. This book just gives you an introduction with something like highlights on those areas where you need to study if you don't know them originally. Basically, they are in another book which is called Building Skills for the TOEFL by Carol King and Nancy Stanley. This is an old book, and I think you can find it in the internet because it's no more on the shelves. So basically, if you want to be a legal translator, you have to make sure that you don't have any problem with anything here, anything mentioned in this chapter about the definite articles, about the adjectives, the verbs, etc. So what I would like you to do here is to read this chapter and make sure that you don't have any problem with them. Now, this is tip number 1. If you ever find yourself at odds with something, if you find yourself that you have difficulty in any of these exercises, it means that the answer is not in this book. You have to go to see other books and to consult with the grammarians maybe, or with other grammar books on those rules that need to be mastered before you become a legal translator. So here, for example, in this exercise, we have Kitabu al-Walad. If a person wants to be a legal translator and he translates it as the book, the boy, for example, we say to him, this is a basic grammar mistake. You cannot continue with legal translation. You cannot even proceed with translation, general translation. You have to go back and study grammar. And to study grammar, you have to do exercises. We suggest to you that you go you go back to the grammar books. John now is asking about the problem of the definite article, the indefinite article, and the loss of the territories. I would like to answer this by saying that the problem was that the resolution of the United Nations said that the Israelis shall withdraw their forces, withdraw completely from, now this is the problem, from the territories it occupied in 1967. But the French version says that it shall withdraw from territories without the. What happened was that the Israelis withdrew from some territories and said this is what is meant by the French resolution. And so this was the problem. We're being joined now by Manar. Thank you, Manar, for coming. And we have, I think, Reem says there is a problem. Reem says there is a problem in the hearing. I'm sorry, everybody can hear me, but if you have any problem, we can give you the recording later on. John says maybe it is not a problem, it's not a mistake, it's intended. I think so. And there is no need for the Israelis to go to the French version, while the Arabic and English versions say clearly to withdraw from all territories, not only territories. Anyway, now we have, for example, كسرت رجل الطاولة. If you translate it, if I translate it as the leg, the table, or the table leg, it means that I have a problem with this kind of structure in English. And for that reason, I have to study it before I can become a translator, as I said. So this is an exercise, and these are the translated text. What you need to do now as a student of this book, if you study this book, what you need now, just one moment, I need to answer ريم. ريم يبدو هناك مشكلة عندك يا ريم لأن الكل يسمعني لكن سوف نرسل لك So what I need you to do, first of all, with these exercises, try to see the Arabic, first of all, please, and try to translate every single sentence. After you translate it, check it against the English translation given to you here. If you find yourself with the first and second sentences, for example, that you don't have any problem, then it's okay. You don't need to proceed with the other examples. If, however, you find any problem with it, you have to consult with any person who is competent with the grammar. ريم سامعتينا؟ أنا أعطيتك الميكروفون. ريم سامعتينا؟ Reem, we cannot hear you. I think you're talking, but we cannot hear you anyway. I hope if you hear me, Reem, if you hear me, just enter the figure, the number 1. Enter number 1 in the chat room like this one. Thank you, Reem. Thank you, and very good that you hear us. Thank you for joining us. We have been talking for a while, and we recorded everything. Hopefully, you will get the recording soon after the session to follow up with what you missed. Now here we have this exercise. In this exercise or this explanation, we give some hints on the major problems of English grammar. Why do I say that? Because when I started making this book, writing it, originally I started immediately with legal translation, but suddenly people who wanted legal translation consulted with me, and when I gave them exercises, I was surprised that many of them had serious problems with the grammar, and for that reason I chose to put this introductory chapter, this chapter 0, preliminary chapter, in order to tell those students that if you have any problem with the grammar, just go back to grammar and come back to legal translation later on. So many of you may find it very naive to put such a chapter. In this case, it's simply chapter 0. You don't have to do anything with it, unless you have a serious problem in English. We have here exercises. You can see the example and the correct answer in everywhere. This is one of the mistakes that we find with the students of translation. Instead of saying she speaks English, as you can see here, they usually say she is speak English. They put double verbs, 2 verbs together. And this is not true. This is not correct. If anybody has a problem with this, he has to go back to the book that we told you about, Building Skills for the TOEFL. Look at this example. Yesterday, he catched, caught a big fish. Obviously, the problem here is with the verb form. We do not say catched, we say caught. We have problems with subordinate clauses. There is a problem with the verbals, which we call in Arabic اسم الفاعل واسم المفعول. The book is interesting. It's not interested. I am interested in the book, but the book itself is interesting. So if I have any problem with this, I have to go back to the building skills for the TOEFL. It was me who was knocking at the door. The answer is I, because it is nominative clause. It is nominative place here. It's not in the object. It is nominative. This is a subject and this is a predicate. But this is not an object. This is what we call subject complement in English grammar. So it should be, it was I who was knocking at the door. Some people say that it's now more appropriate to say me because it is almost old to say I, but this is grammar anyway, and we need to learn the grammar as it is in the books. Now all of these exercises and explanations are put in the Building Skills for the TOEFL. This is the book on grammar, and you can see them all. All lessons are there, all exercises are there. This is just a kind of guidance where you need to go and what you should go. So we have 10 areas of errors, and all of them are in the Building Skills for the TOEFL. If you would like to test yourself in grammar, you have to do this exercise. Otherwise, if you think you are very good in grammar and you don't need it at all, please skip this chapter. Anyway, there are exercises, as I said. I would like here to ask some of you to answer this question. Number 9. كان الناس في الماضي ينقادون بالتقاليد والقيم الأخلاقية. You have A and you have B. One of them is correct. Who would like to answer this question? Number 9. It's page 23. There is just one question. Does it mean that you cannot see the screen? Because I made share screen, which means that you can see the screen. This is a very big question now. Yes, John says it's A. People in the past were guided by traditions and values. But B is wrong, because people in the past guided by traditions and values. We have a problem with the verb. Thank you, John, for answering this question. Kauthar, I repeat, can you see the screen? On the screen now, I'm putting the same book that you downloaded. You should see it. Okay, I'm looking in my PC. Okay. I see. So you're not listening to the lecture through the PC. Nahil is also asking. It's 23, page 23. But I'm anyway showing you the book on the screen, so you should see it now. Anyway, we have now 14. If I say 14, بموجب القانون الإنجليزي يجب فصل القضية وفقا للقضايا السابقة المشابهة لها. By the way, when you say فصل, what does it mean? فصل means chapter, but here when we talk about the law and courts, it means decide. When the judge decides the case. Under the English law, a case according to previous similar cases, and the second one, under the English law, a case must be decided according to previous similar cases. Which one is correct? Who would like to answer this question? Ahmed and Reem both agree, and Kauthar as well, that B is the correct answer. Yes, because John also, because there is a verb. Nahil also correctly said it must be decided. So there is a verb, and here there is no verb. Once again, I remind you, the reason why I put this chapter is just to tell the reader, if you have any problem with them, you cannot proceed forward. You have to consult with grammar first. So there are lots of exercises. Some of them are too naive for you. If you think that you are very good in grammar and you don't need them, then simply do not do them and move to the next chapter. Here there is a key for all of these questions. It gives you the answers. And then it moves now to the rules of Arabic grammar. Arabic grammar, in fact, yes, John, it is always good to review, yes. Especially as far as we are concerned, we're not native speakers of English as you, John. For that reason, we have to study more. And now here I am putting for you some examples about other sources. I would like you to understand something. There is no source in the world to teach you or to teach me or to teach anybody legal translation. Legal translation has resources, and this book gives you just tips. It's just tips. I'm saying to you now, if you translate any legal document, your grammar in Arabic must be wonderful. There are many cases that caused several problems in translation of legal documents. I will give you one example which is very strange. This example is that in colloquial Arabic, all of us, regardless of the countries where we belong, we say the following. If we say this sentence in Arabic, regardless of our dialects, we all say the same thing. In Jordan, in Egypt, in Qatar, in Saudi Arabia, everywhere, in the Arab world, if we say this, it means استبدلنا الكمبيوتر بالطاولة. It means استبدلنا الكمبيوتر بالطاولة. It means that we left the computer and got the table. استبدلنا الكمبيوتر بالطاولة. This is our colloquial Arabic. However, this structure is not grammatical at all, because as such, استبدلنا الكمبيوتر بالطاولة, as Manar is saying now, we are leaving الطاولة, because we are leaving what comes after باء. المتروك بعد الباء. What you leave is after باء. Now imagine this problem in legal document. If you say that the two parties to the contract agreed that the first party would يستبدل الكمبيوتر بالطاولة, and imagine that you mean something in colloquial Arabic and you write it in this way, but when the court looks in the document, what does it do? It goes to the grammar of Arabic and would say that استبدلنا الكمبيوتر بالطاولة. It means that you left the table and got to the computer and not the opposite. This is one example about the grammar, and you can see about المفعول به and الفاعل. If there is a difference between them, it is a disaster in contract law in particular. Now, one of the examples that we have here about the books, we have معجم الأخطاء الشائعة للدكتور محمد العدناني. This book is available on the internet. This is a very good one. It shows you the correct usage of Arabic versus the incorrect usage of colloquial Arabic. And here we have some examples like ضرب أخماسا لأسداس, and he says you have to say ضرب أخماسا لأسداد وليس بأسداس. This is one of the examples, and it has lots of examples that you need to read. Now, when we talk about common mistakes, I would like to cite some examples, and here they are in this book. We have, for example, we have this structure. تم تحرير هذه الاتفاقية بين الطرفين. Recent thoughts about Arabic writing and recent trends in translation reveal that translators are not happy at all with this structure. We say, in fact, yes, we are not happy with this تم at all, because the person who invented this تم تحرير هذه الاتفاقية, he wanted us to read the sentence even if it doesn't have any harakat. We say by harakat case markers, in other words. Instead of saying حررت or حررت or whatsoever. We strongly believe that this is wrong, and we should go back to the case markers. Instead of saying تم تحرير هذه الاتفاقية, we do say حررت هذه الاتفاقية, and as you can see in the picture, we put on every letter its own case marker so that it's easy to understand. Another problem, which is now a disease that has plagued the Arab world writing, it's the use of qama. The persons who invented this word seem to have said that Arabic needs an auxiliary verb, and for that reason they used qama. We do not like this, and we start immediately with the verb. اشترى الطرف الأول instead of saying قام الطرف الأول بشراء. One of the problems that we have in writing is I would like to stress on you to read them carefully. It is an area of grammar which is called كسر همزة إن. كسر همزة إن. We do not say حيث أن, but we say حيث إن. We do not say قال أن, we say قال إن. And you will be surprised to know that usually legal writing in Arabic cares a lot about Arabic grammar. We have one of the errors of writing here. This is an example. It is the word order in Arabic. We see some people saying المؤجر والمستأجر اتفقا. And this is wrong because you have to say اتفق المؤجر والمستأجر على ما هو آت, because this is word order. The subject and the verb, one of them comes before the other. Obviously, it's the verb in Arabic which comes before the subject. If you see these boxes, they are in the book. These boxes show you the mistake, but it also shows you the correction and the reason why the mistake is being made. I would like you to read them carefully, and if you have any problem, now this is your job. It is to go to another book and to see other rules about those mistakes. So it gives you just hints on what you need to do. I hope that I put several examples. I gave you some references that you can use in this exercise. We move now to chapter 1. You can see that in chapter 0 we talked about the basics of grammar in Arabic and English, and we stressed on the necessity for you to have resources other than this book in order to be able to read the grammars of the two languages in their books and references. But now chapter 1, what is it all about? Chapter 1, if you look at this page, chapter 1 talks about general provisions, court decisions, what is the law, bylaws, etc., contracts, and self-learning resources. This chapter only tells you about what the law is about. It is simply what are the legal documents that you want to read. What are the legal documents that you need to translate from Arabic into English and English into Arabic? You need only about 6 hours just to read and understand them. It just gives you ideas about them. For example, we have one type of legal writing. It's called about the law. It is when something is written about the law. Please have a look at it and see the linguistic characteristics there and see how it differs from the mass media, for example. We have another type of legal writing which is called apostle writing. I would like you to read samples because I put one for you, but I would like to read sample, one of them, and to see if you can translate it and see how it is translated. If you cannot translate it at the moment, there is no problem, as long as you understand that there is something called apostle writing. We have some fixed forms for the courts, like the certificates and other issues, laws and bylaws, regulations, news about the law. Here we have this piece of news and a story. It's about a company that lost $1 Canadian million because of the comma. So it gives you just some hints about what you need to know before you study legal translation. It's about the law. And here it gives you some hints about MemoQ program or any CAT tools that you can use with legal translation. And here there are explanations. I hope you will benefit from them. We have also other resources to help you with the terms. Translatorscafe.com. This is one of the questions that I put there. It's a real question asked by one of my students in Oman, and I put this question and got the answers. You can see them. Other references for your own choice. Now let's get down to business. Chapter 2 is about basic concepts and terminology of the law. We will agree first of all that as the fish lives only in the sea, legal documents can only be translated by a person who lives in the sea of legal documents, so to speak. So to follow the metaphor a bit further, a fish cannot live outside the sea. This is obvious. What about the legal translation exercise? When you translate something and you do not understand its basic concept, you will be in a problem. For example, let me give you this very simple example. And this example is a sentence in Arabic. This one is very strange. If you read وَغُبَّ الثُّبُوتِ, what does it mean? You cannot understand it unless you know that this is what lawyers use when they ask the judge that غُبَّ الثُّبُوتِ, which means that after my case is proven to be correct and valid, after the judge decides that I have every right to get my money from that plaintiff or that defendant, غُبَّ الثُّبُوتِ, after, it means after my case is proved to be valid, I would like to ask the judge to do so and so and so for me. So this is one of the terms, and this is one of the fish that lives in the sea, and you cannot understand it without knowing anything about law. Now another problem. What does this word mean to you? Distress. It is a type of connector, John says. Yes, it is a kind of a cliché, John. It is usually a cliché. The lawyer says to the court, Mr. Your Excellency, Your Eminence, the judge, etc., I claim on the behalf of my client such and such and such, and if it is supported, if what I say is proven to be valid, I would like to ask for money, for compensation, etc. Now distress means al-hajz al-tahaffudhi. Yes, Kauthar, that's right. Although the term seems to be relevant to something else, and if you open up the dictionary, you check it there, you will find it means sadness, it means something like this. But when it comes to contract, it means something else. It means al-hajz al-tahaffudhi. Al-hajz al-tahaffudhi had a long story to talk about. And another word, if I say facsimile, there is no trick here. What does facsimile mean? What does facsimile mean? What do you understand it to mean? Well, as I said, you have to participate. At least you have to say something. Kauthar says fax. Who agrees that facsimile means fax? If you don't want to talk, just enter number 1 to say that you agree with Kauthar that facsimile is simply a fax. Do you hear me, by the way? Well, it seems either you don't want to participate or maybe... yes, we have some answers. We have Reem, Ayman also, Nahil sent faxes. John says he doesn't know what it means, facsimile. And Reem Basyuni says it's document. Facsimile, in fact, you can say it means the fax, but in legal documents, when you say, I will accept facsimile, now we have to understand the following concept. You have a passport copy, a copy of a passport. Let's say that we have a copy of passport. If you take this copy of passport and go to the department that it issued the passport, and they stamp the copy of the passport, it becomes a true copy. A true copy. So I say to you, for example, I am the authority of employment. I say, If you want to apply for a job, bring me a true copy. What does it mean, true copy? It means bring me a copy of your passport stamped by the department as being a true copy. If I say to you, however, bring me a facsimile, only a facsimile of your passport, it means it's a copy of passport but not true copy. It does not need to have any stamps. This is what facsimile means. So there are many terms that we need to understand and many concepts indeed. I would like also to urge you further to look into contracts. Contracts means what? Al-uqud. Al-uqud has a problem because al-uqud contracts have obligations and rights. Now, when you translate a contract, in many cases, the contract is in the court and the judge is unhappy with them because they have a dispute. So what? You need to understand the obligations and the rights of those people in the contract. And for that reason, you have to see the sources of obligations. This is a bit uneasy. Let me try to explain it now with the following chapter. Now, after talking about the issue of words like distress, facsimile, etc., we put for you some exercises, by the way, on vocabulary in terms of legal documents. There is relief, claim, plaintiff, trial court, jurisdictions of courts, etc. And this exercise is about finding words in their context and finding the meaning of them in Arabic. The good news is that there are many resources you can use, including translatorscafe.com, including dictionaries, etc. But also you have a chapter, an appendix at the end of this book. It gives you almost everything and you can search there for the term. But I would like you first to search for these terms in the internet, because whenever you try to search for them, you try to understand also the concept. What does relief mean, by the way? Relief could mean anything. Ighatha could mean anything, any simple thing that you have. But when you talk about a case, relief means also a talab. How come it means a talab? It means a talab because when you go to the court and you file a case against somebody, you want to sue him, you say, Your Excellency, the judge, he did so and so to me, he did so and so to me. Now, what do you want? What you want from him is called relief. The claim, al-iddia, it is what you say that happened. It is a claim. And the judge looks into that claim and tries to see if it is validated or not. Other words are similar. Now we have another exercise, is to try to find resources in the internet and to find those words and to see what they mean in Arabic, but also try to see the definitions of those terms, try to understand them correctly, try to understand the concepts of these terms. Direct examination, for example, it's talking to the witness. الحديث مع الشهود، مناقشة الشاهد، استجواب الشاهد. It's called direct examination. استجواب الشاهد, cross-examination. That's right, but what does it mean? So I say that we have some basic concepts to be understood. I would like to urge you, when you read this book, to understand those concepts. It starts with the state. You will be surprised, but this is what we have to start with. State, الدولة. الدولة tries to give services, tries to give you services. One of those services is the court. So you will read some kind of information about that. We have some questions answered on the post on the chat. Manar is asking whether facsimile is نسخة طبق الأصل. I think, Manar, no. نسخة طبق الأصل is true copy. True copy. But facsimile simply means a copy without being validated by any party. Facsimile. To explain it again, if your client in the United States is telling you, you can send me a facsimile, it means You can send you the document by email, for example. It's not a true copy. Since it's sent by email, it's not original. And there is another question, I think, here. Kauthar is asking, is this word facsimile used often? Yes, it is used in contracts. Whenever you find you write a contract with any party, I think you will find this word facsimile. Here in this exercise, I am asking you to find words for the Arabic in English. If you do not find them, it's okay. They are meant for you to search in the internet and see what you can get of these words. Anyway, look at the appendix at the end as a last resort. Not starting with the appendix. Do not start with the appendix. Try to start with the internet. Even if you spend hours, it's okay. Until you find all the words. If you don't find them, just go to the appendix. Now here again, it gives about subul intisaf explanation about what subul intisaf is. Subul intisaf remedies are not, in fact, a legal term. It's not a legal term, but it is something like international organization term. I think if you read it, you understand it. I would like you afterwards to read those words and to find their English equivalents. Once again, when you find them, some of them you cannot find, okay? You can see the appendix and see if they are there or not. Anyway, this chapter is about basic concepts of the law. Without basic concepts of the law, we cannot proceed any further in legal translation because you cannot translate something you cannot understand. I do not want to explain any of them now because it's your job just to read them, understand them, and if you have any problem, of course, you can find me anywhere and ask me these questions. But please read them carefully because they give you an idea about everything happening in the court, everything happening with legal documents. This one is very important about the courts. Al-ikhtisas, what does it mean, ikhtisas? If I ask this word, then many people would say it's a specialization. But in fact, when you say about ikhtisas, it is jurisdiction. It is whether the court has the power to rule something, to decide something or not. Now we have a question by Ayman. You have a question about insaf? No? Nahil has a problem with the word. I don't understand you. Nahil, you said you want something in Arabic, but I don't understand it. What's that you want to know in Arabic anyway? Facsimile نسخة. نسخة. صورة. صورة that does not necessarily need to be a true copy. It's just a copy. So here, let me give you just an explanation of those things. If there is a yes, نسخ فقط يا نحيل, نسخ فقط. If you have here and الاختصاص, for example, اختصاص المكاني, let's explain this one. Let us assume that the plaintiff, the one who went to the court to file his claims, is from Australia. And the other person who is filing the case against is also from Australia. A court in the United States of America cannot take the case. You cannot go to the case to take the case and sue that person in the United States because you don't live in the state, he doesn't live in the state. So we say that the court does not have jurisdiction. لا يوجد لديها اختصاص. We have something called تبادل اللوائح رد الدعوة شكلا المحكمة المختصة. Now, how to understand them? I would like to ask you now, when you read this chapter about the courts, I would like to ask you to go to YouTube. There is a lesson that I put there. It is divided into several parts, maybe 11 parts because it's very long. It's just about translating legal documents in the court decisions, translation of court decisions. Try to find them in the YouTube court decision translation or ترجمة قرار محكمة. If you write ترجمة قرار محكمة, you'll find it. And it gives you all information that you need about these terms. It explains to you everything in details. There are about 11 or 12 parts of the lesson even. All of them are audio visual as well. Territorial jurisdiction, or I think there is another name, I just forgot it. Territorial jurisdiction, we'll check it. Yes, it is territorial jurisdiction, but also It has another term that we will check now in the appendix, maybe at the end of this session. But you're right, you can say territorial jurisdiction. You can say also venue, because this is what is used in the United States. So here in this place, in this chapter, however, no matter how much you read this chapter, you will find it very difficult to understand. If you don't understand it, however, it's very difficult for you to be a legal translator, because a legal translator must understand the concept. A legal translator must understand everything related to the law, and for that reason, I suggest that if you read this chapter, the first thing you need to know is things that you find difficulty in understanding. Check my audiovisual lessons. It's in Arabic. It's in the YouTube channel. You can find it there. If you have any other problem, please try to see a lawyer immediately to explain to you everything. Unfortunately, this is how it goes. There is no simpler procedure to learn legal translation. When you translate the concepts, this is the only way. In many cases, I myself had to consult with lawyers, and in many cases, I consulted with the lawyer once and twice, 3 times on the same issue. Every time he speaks to me, I don't understand him. Well, this is what happens, and this is your job to do. You have to do lots of work, otherwise it will not be possible to be a legal translator. So before writing this book, it took me about 2 years to understand the law, but I'm putting now the guidelines. Nobody told me what to do before, so I had to study myself and made lots of mistakes in my study. And now I'm giving everything which is right as far as I know. So basically, I am giving you 2 years of experience just very easily in this book. And whatever you have to do now is to simply consult with the lawyer in case you have a problem. And most importantly, try please to read. And try to watch. You can watch also, by the way, television videos, something like Boston Legal, for example. This is very good. It's all legal. There are other, I think, dramas or I don't know. There are some TV shows about the legal issues. So it tells you about what's happening in the course with all the terms. So it deals with the sea and tells you how the fish lives in that sea. This one is very important about sources of obligations. مصادر الالتزام, very important. I would like you to read them carefully. But in order for you to understand what مصادر الالتزام is, التزام, what does it mean? It means somebody is committed to do something to another person. For example, I say to you, I will give you a lecture on Thursday about legal translation. What is that? It's a promise. If I don't show up today without any reason and say I just simply break my promise, you know, by the law, you can go to the court and sue me for that. You can say that the teacher did not fulfill his promise. The court would try to see if I am committed really to give you the session or not. It goes to the sources of obligation. It's known in English as laws of obligation. قوانين الالتزام. In Arabic we say it's مصادر الالتزام. In my case, it is called الإرادة المنفردة. In English, it is called unilateral volition. Unilateral volition. This is the term. And I would like to tell you, by the way, something. For those people who are translating in the court systems, you have to be very aware of the fact that whenever the judge is asking a question, he's actually trying to see whether there is an obligation or not. Perhaps next time we will meet on the sources of obligation. We'll talk about a real case in the United States and see why the judge is asking some questions. And if we mistranslate them, we mess up everything. I have, by the way, a recording which is very good for that. And Maybe I can give it to you maybe as a link later on so that you can listen to it and see the whole problems of the law there. So the sources of obligations are as follows: القانون, law, العقود, contracts, الإرادة المنفردة, unilateral volition, الفعل النافع or beneficial act, الفضالة, it's the same as الفعل النافع which is called officiousness, الفعل الضار or what's called tort, المسؤولية التقصيرية. Now we have some terms that you will not understand, but I'm afraid if you don't understand them, you will be in a very difficult situation in translating legal documents. I think so. Anyway, I promise that everything will be explained to you. If you don't understand them in this book, at least you have the resources that I'm telling you about in each chapter so that you can read them and understand them. Legal translation, as I said, cannot be translated, cannot be understood or learned in a simple way. It has something, it has a requirement, and this requirement is that you should do something. You should do some search about القانون, العقود, الإرادة المنفردة, etc. If you don't really understand them, I think you have to consult with a good lawyer and see if he doesn't understand them, if he can explain them to you. But anyway, law and order, Comfort says, yes, there is law and order, but I think it's not that legal. Boston legal is much better. But anyway, I promise you, if you read these chapters and find yourself at odds with anything here in these chapters, in this book, I think I can help you in making you understand everything. I can prepare even special audio visual lessons just for you to answer your questions because they are very important for me also. Now, let me explain them just in a nutshell. القانون. If I ask you a question, you have a car and you run a red light. The policeman comes and he gives you a ticket. If I ask you the question why, and you answer by saying because the law says that you pay a penalty because of the passing of the red light, then I would say you are correct. Because the source of obligation is in the law. If two persons go to the court, one of them says, Your Excellency, that one, I gave him money to build me a house, but he did not build me a house. What kind of source of obligation will the judge look into? Is it the law? It's not the law, because the law doesn't say anything about people building houses for each other. It is the contract. What about al-irada al-munfarida? You go to the mall, and the mall says any person whose name begins with the letter C, for example, wins $100, and your name begins with letter C. You get there and say, give me my money. He would say, no, you don't have any money. We simply are breaking our promise. If you go to the court, the judge would say, this is what's called unilateral volition. Al-irada al-munfarida. It means that he has to pay under certain circumstances. Beneficial act, al-fi'l al-nafi'. If you go to the bank and deposit $1,000 in your account, to your shock, you find that you wrote the number of your account by mistake. You wrote the wrong number, and it went to another person. You go to the court because that person refuses to return the money to you. This is what's called al-fi'l al-nafi', because he benefited from your money. And the judge would ask him, do you know this person? He'd say no. Do you have any commercial transaction with him? No. Do you have? He says, then you have money without any reason. You have money without any cause. And this is called undue enrichment. Al-ithra' min ghayr sabab shar'i. So he would say, give him back his money. Al-fi'l al-dar, if somebody smashes the windows of your car, you go to the court and complain and say, I want my money back for the compensation and for the damages, etc. You will be right if you tell me that this is because he caused you harm, and this is called الفعل الضار. الفعل الضار, harmful act, which is also in English known as tort law. Tort law. So this is some explanation about that. If you have any question, please ask me. I wish that you understand them. Try to read them many times. There is also al-ahliya, which is capacity. It's a very basic term in law. And there are now sentences for translation. When you translate, you have to put the correct term. I hope I can meet with you later on to see if you are doing well or not on that exercise. We have references I would like you to read if possible. I hope that you read them. Now we have this one. It's called Linguistic Characteristics of Legal Documents. Now here, when you read them, it gives you some examples about how the law is written. It's just in the Arab world, by the way. I think in the United States, Canada, they do not follow these rules, but anyway. It talks about the use of shall and shall not. Please try to learn and apply correctly the use of shall and shall not. Try to apply the use of may and may not. shall not means يلتزم لا يلتزم. يمتنع يحظر على shall not. may يسمح له يجوز. should, do you know the word should? What does should mean? For many of you would say maybe should means ينصح به أو يجب. No, should in legal documents means إذا, if. It has the same meaning as if. Now here it explains to you, this section explains to you how to express obligation and permission in the law. Gives you examples about what's called positive obligation, negative obligation. We have some exercises about that. This is very important because it gives you the basics of the legal writing. Now we move to the next chapter. We have lots of exercises, and I hope you will do them correctly. Translation exercises, resource exercises. You go to a resource and try to find the answers to your questions. We have now practical exercises here, are just short passages. And you have the mistakes of trainees. I'm thankful for every single person who contributed with his or her translation. One of them is Kauthar. Thank you, Kauthar, here. I remember that you gave me some of your answers to these exercises, and I put them in the book and mentioned your name as well. Now, you have the translation, you have the correction, you have the proposed translation, and you have recommendations. I would like you to read them, and try to learn from the mistakes of other friends. Lots of exercises. As you see, for that reason we say it's a practical handbook with some theories. Lots and lots and lots. Now there are translation on the paragraph level. By the way, it's very now advanced, so to speak. If you have any problem with them, then it's simply because they are advanced and you need maybe time to understand how to translate them. Chapter 5 is very good because it gives you expressions that are repeated, frequently used expressions. And I'm showing you how to benefit from MemoQ in order to use expressions that are repeated. Some of them are translated and some of them are exercises, but most of them are translated here in this chapter. Pronominal adverbs are very important, very important, very important in legal translation. I tried as much as possible to put them here and explain them. Hear about, for example, instead of saying about this place or close to this place, they say hear about. I think many of you heard about here to, hereby, herewith, etc. All of them are explained here. I would like you to read them, understand them, and try to see the logic for using them. They are very important. Here we have the annexes that I told you about. They are sorted alphabetically using the ABC. I think you asked me about الاختصاص, jurisdiction. If I find it here, I think. So we have the الاختصاص الموضوعي, subject matter jurisdiction, but الاختصاص المكاني, yes, it's territorial jurisdiction. I think there is another term. I don't remember it at the moment, but it has another term for الاختصاص المكاني. Anyway, you can say territorial jurisdiction, that's right anyway. So, I think that's all that I need to talk about the book. And as you can see, it's not easy. It's very serious indeed. And you need to do lots of work. You need to do lots of things. There is no other way but just to do lots of things. You have to read and you have to practice. You have sometimes to consult with lawyers, as I said. Unfortunately, this is how we learn translation. There's no other way. With this, I finish my introduction to this book. Thank you, Nahil. I tried to make it as interesting as possible. Nahil says it's very interesting. I tried really to make it so. I tried to get feedback from people before printing it, and I tried to put as many feedback, to benefit from the feedback of people who suffered from legal translation so that I put the same mistakes. Thank you, John. Thank you. Thank you, Reem, also. I'm waiting now for your participation. What would you like me to do for you? How can I help you further with this book? First of all, you need to read it, and as I said, you will have some problems. But I would like to listen to you. Who would like to say something? It will push me to read the book, says John. Well, I'm very happy that my book is pushing you, or this workshop is pushing you anyway. Yes, who would like to say something? Is there anybody who would like to say something? To ask for something? Yes, John wants to say something. The microphone will be with you. Just one moment. Yes, John.
Yes, I just wanted to thank you for this course, actually, or this workshop. Actually, while you were explaining the lesson, I downloaded at least 2 or 3 chapters, at least almost to page 100 in the book, including the very first chapter, because even though I think all of us have a good level of Arabic and English, it's we should never be we should be careful not to be arrogant, and we should be very humble, because this is really a daunting task. Legal translation. I mean, I'm realizing. I remember that when I used to send you some of the translations, I used to always write "tamma tahrir," "tamma kida," "tamma," and you would correct me on this. And so, and for example, in the question of ikhtisas, for example, I would probably put salahiyya, but again, I'm not an expert. You know what I'm saying? So. I really appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate this book, and I hope that this isn't the last workshop, but rather the first of many to come.
Thank you, John, for what you said. I'm very pleased that we have this good back from you. John is an expert in translation, by the way, and he's one of the best translators ever in English and Arabic. There's something very interesting about al-ikhtisas and other matters. Whenever we talk about the law and legal terms, in fact, we have something very easy, which is that every single word in the law has only one single meaning. This is just a general rule. 90% of the words in English and Arabic just are very straightforward. We have al-ikhtisas, it's simply jurisdiction when we talk about the court. When we talk about al-ahliya, it is capacity. That's all. There is no other single word, which makes it sometimes easier to understand and read in legal documents and then translate them. Thank you for your comments, John. And I really hope that I would be able to help you all in these areas. So, Reem, would you like to say something? I think you want Reem or Nahil, or who's going to talk? Yes, Nahil wants to say something. Please, Nahil, the microphone is with you.
Hi, how are you? It's been a great lecture, and I enjoyed it. I hope someday that I'll teach such a book because I'm continuing my study in interpreting and legal translation, and I hope someday I meet you. You're very expertly. Thank you.
Thank you, Nahil. Thank you also. I hope to meet you as well. And thank you that very happy that you liked it. If you liked it, then it means that you're willing to study more and more, because the book gives you just the beginning of everything. And whenever you find something which is not quite understood, then it means that we have to go to other books and other things and here and there. It would be great to hold a legal translation wow in Jordan. I hope so. I hope one day that we will have some course in legal translation. But believe me, John, it begins with you first. It begins with your questions about what you don't understand in the law. And I hope that after I give you some time, if you ever read this book, just find what you don't understand. And this is the trick. Whenever you tell me something about you don't understand, just this something, I will make a lecture on it. Even if it takes me for this book to give you and to give other community members thousands of lectures just about everything that's not understood in the book, I will be ready to do so. In other words, we have two approaches of teaching something, either to teach something in generality or in specificity itself. What I care more is about every specific single detail. If somebody is asking me, for example, about what does it mean to say a claim, I would be ready just to talk about a claim, how it is in Arabic and how is it in English, and how the translation is made between them. For example, for 10 minutes, I can do that as a recording, and you can see that we have several recordings for several things. It would make it much easier. Nahil says, but we'll face obstacles in differences between countries. No, we will not find any obstacles, believe me. I know there are differences between countries, but not that too much, because all the Arab world got their laws from Egypt, and Egypt got it from the code Napoleon's code. And Napoleon, I think, got it from the Sharia, from the Islamic Sharia, by the way. Yes, in the law, no problem, Nahil. Nahil, there is no problem in the law. All Arab countries have their laws from Egypt, all of them, without exception. Okay, now, is there any other question? I don't like this phrase, by the way. Is there any other question? Give me your questions, yes. Reem, would you like to ask any questions, to say something? Reem, do you have a microphone? Would you like to say something? Anyway, the question of Reem, she says, is there any second book for both legal and general translation? I hope so, Reem. I really hope so. If I write a book on legal translation, I will write it about the contract law. If I write about general translation, I will write my second book on free translation technique. Free translation technique. By the way, I would like also to invite you to, whenever the recording of my idioms translation lecture is ready, you can have it and download the whole picture, the whole presentation there, to see if it's useful for you or not. Something else. Anyway, who would like to ask me any other question? We have now Ahmed. Ahmed, I haven't heard anything from you. Would you like to ask me any question? Ahmed, can you hear me, Ahmed? Do you have any question? Yes, Ahmed, I will give you the microphone now to talk. Would you like to have any question, just please ask me. The microphone is with you now. Or maybe you don't have a microphone, it doesn't work, I don't know why. Could you please turn it on and talk?
Firstly,
Yes, تفضل أحمد, تفضل. Yes,
thank
please.
You. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. It was a very useful lecture. I have one question. I want to ask about how can I learn the legal expression or the legal form, how to form correct sentence in legal.
This is a very good question, Ahmed. Ahmed's question is how to write a grammatically and let us say linguistically correct sentence in the law. Now, the first thing, Ahmed, you have to know is that we have several types of writing inside legal documents. So we have certificates, for example, it has its own way. And to answer this question, if you ask me how to write a certificates in the right way, my answer is that you have to read previous certificates and imitate them. Imitate them. This is what I do. This is what every expert translation does. Just imitate it. Do it the same thing. Question number 2. If you say that how to write a correct sentence in a law, for example, now this is another issue. We have two answers for this question. If I have a law and I want to translate a sentence to write it in the right way, there are two answers, as I said. The first one is that if you are translating the civil law of Egypt, go to the civil law of the United Arab Emirates and try to copy and paste. You will be surprised, but this is what we do as expert translators. We try to benefit from the experience of other people. So you copy and paste and try to learn what you have there. If your question, however, is that you want from scratch to learn yourself how to make a sentence, and I think this is your question, then you have to start with one important thing. It is the characteristics of legal documents. What we have here with legal writing, I mean, characteristics of legal writing. We have to learn how to make a permission, for example. This is by using the word may. You have to learn how to make obligation. This is by shall. And this is explained in the book that you have in your hands. So start with this. Start with the obligation. Start with the permission. Start with the fixed expressions. Start with the conditions. All of them are explained in the book, and try to learn them first. At the same time, try to read the laws and see how things are going. I recommend that you read translated laws of the United Arab Emirates from Arabic into English. Read the civil law, or maybe you can read the trade law or other things and see the comparison. Try to compare and contrast them. You will benefit a lot and you will learn a lot in this way. This is, Ahmed, how I personally started. I started by comparing and contrasting laws. I think you can do the same thing and you can learn a lot. But begin with this book as well and see you have lots of options. Thank you, Ahmed. Who would like also to ask any other question? Kauthar, you have a question, please. Go ahead. Kauthar, can you hear me? Can you talk? Yes, Kauthar, you have the microphone, and I think you can.
Yes, first of all, I would like to thank you so much for your generosity and for sharing your knowledge with us, either in this training or on Facebook. You have always been so generous, and I would like to thank you for that. And my question is there any Arabic website where we can find the legal documents?
Legal documents like what?
Like in general, like for example, shakwa, complaint or something in Arabic. Is there a specific website, or do we just Google and Google the internet and find the documents?
Well, I think not that easy to find them because I don't think also that you can have trustworthy sites. You can find maybe on the internet, I'm not sure, but there are no specific designated sites for that. You can see only the official sites of the Arab states. They have just their laws in Arabic and English. I think this is the best that you can find there. But anyway,
Yes, okay.
anyway, if you have any need for complaints for formats like that, I think you can ask the translation community, and some of them may help you. But remember that complaints, I have complaints on my computer, for example, but all of them are complaints, which means they are very private and they are confidential. They cannot be disclosed. For that reason, you cannot find all of these things. So it's a matter of risk of disclosure of confidential material. It will be a problem. But anyway, you have to give it a try and to ask the translation community on Facebook, arabtranslators.org, and maybe some people would help you. Hope they will help you. I don't know.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome, Kauthar. Welcome. John is saying that you can find some treaties between countries online. Yes, we can find everything that is for the public can be found on the internet. But when we talk about complaints, it's another issue. I think it's not easy at all to find them. There is an open mic which I am unable to mute. It makes some noises. If somebody has an open mic, please just turn it off unless you speak. Is there any other question that you would like to ask, all of you? So it seems to be I hear everybody here. Some of you could not continue maybe because of certain technical problems. I understand that. If you have no other questions, I think it's over. We can end this session today. It's certainly going to be not the last session. We will certainly meet again and again. And remember all the time that everything that you do here is recorded, and you can get the recording once it's available on the internet. I can just give you the link immediately. You can find the link in the Facebook page of the Arab translators, مجمع العربي المترجمين المحترفين, Arab translators, on the Facebook, on my Facebook page. I'll try to make it available wherever you want. If you also contact me by email, I will give it to you. And remember, you have to read the book, and once you find something which is very difficult, just tell me about it. I will try my best just to spare some 10 minutes of my time, record the explanation, and send it to you and to other people. You will benefit other people by explaining something to you. And then also remember that translating legal documents is not that easy to learn. It may take you years. I hope it will not take you years, because the book already gives you the experience that I have in my life in translation. It gives you lots of exercises, but certainly it requires you to consult with lawyers sometimes, to ask them about the laws in your countries, and to be more versed in the subject. Try to be persistent as much as possible, and I think you will reach the end of the road. Remember also that one day we will talk about the translation in the court. Kauthar, I think you are an interpreter in the court system in the United States, and I would like to encourage you to go to the YouTube and see Case Closed series. It's very important, and when you read it, when you listen to that case adjudication, you will find lots of relevance in the book. I hope so. Now, I think I have to say goodbye to you now, and I know it's now midnight. So I say good night and hope to see you again in other sessions. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for attendance. And I say last but not least, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.